All right, grab your double-double, zip up your parka, and mentally prepare for the most Canadian political fiasco this side of a Tim Hortons snowstorm. Because what just went down in the once sleepy riding of Terrebone, Quebec isn't just a recount, it's a full-blown bureaucratic bobsled crash starring misprinted envelopes, political whiplash, and Mark Carney having what can only be described as a very central banker-style meltdown. Picture it, April 28th. Democracy is supposed to be quietly humming along, birds chirping, ballots being cast, people politely waiting in line. Liberal candidate Tatiana Ace is already halfway through her Instagram victory post, sipping on budget champagne, captioning it MP era. Meanwhile, Bloc Québécois candidate Nathalie Sinclair-Desgagnés is presumably contemplating life after politics until the plot twist hits harder than a snowplow at rush hour. During the routine validation process, bureaucratic code for let's double-check we didn't completely mess this up, the numbers flip. Tatiana's lead evaporates faster than a bottle of maple syrup at a pancake breakfast. Suddenly, it's Nathalie wearing the crown. And somewhere in Toronto, Mark Carney chokes on his kale smoothie, whispering, "This is not how monetary policy works." But wait, hold on to your tokes, because just when you think it's over, the judicial recount crashes the party like a Mountie on a moose. On May 10th, the results swing back again, this time by a single vote. Uno, a lone dot on the Democratic radar, the kind of razor-thin margin that makes you want to knock on your neighbor's door and ask, "Hey, did you vote?" It's like deciding the Stanley Cup based on who says sorry fewer times in overtime, and just like that, Tatiana Ace is back on top, floating like a confused maple leaf caught in a political windstorm. Now, here's where it goes from comedy to courtroom drama, because the Bloc Québécois are not content to take their L like a slightly disappointed curling team say, "Hold on, this isn't just sour grapes, this is rotten fruit." Why? Because Elections Canada, in a move that would make even a substitute gym teacher wince, admits they botched a special ballot due to, wait for it, a printing error. That's right. One poor Bloc voter followed every civic rule, mailed in their ballot like a proud citizen, only to have it bounce back like an awkward boomerang. The reason? A misprinted address on the envelope, as if Elections Canada was run by an office intern with a label maker and zero oversight, and somewhere Mark Carney, high priest of technocratic calm, is probably pacing his condo muttering, "This is why we need fiscal restraint," while staring furiously at a Canada Post tracking number. Let's be brutally honest here. Elections Canada had one job, and they fumbled it harder than a CFL receiver in a snowstorm. A national election potentially swung because someone typoed a postal code. This is the same government agency we trust to run referendums and count ballots, and they can't even get their envelopes straight. I've seen kindergarteners with more reliable craft projects. So now the Bloc is dragging this fiasco into federal court, and frankly, good. Because if this democracy is going to collapse, let it collapse with dignity and due process. A judge is being asked to decide if this envelope and that glorious symbol of bureaucratic decay is enough reason to toss the whole election in the recycling bin and start over. And say what you want about the Bloc, but at least they're not pretending this is fine. Meanwhile, Carney is probably sketching up a proposal to replace mail-in ballots with a blockchain backed by GDP growth forecasts and green bond indexes. Welcome to Canada, folks, where even our electoral chaos is mildly polite, wildly passive-aggressive, and deeply dependent on envelope integrity. And you've got to hand it to Nathalie Sinclair-Desgagnés of the Bloc Québécois. There she is, standing in the political storm with the calm fury of a Quebec mom who's been on hold with Rogers for 3 hours straight. She's not ranting. She's not throwing punches. She's simply stating the truth. Every vote matters, and she's absolutely right, because this isn't about bruised egos or partisan melodrama. It's about the core belief that every single Canadian's vote is sacred, even if it's trapped in a misprinted envelope held hostage by the bureaucratic black hole known as Elections Canada. And oh, how beautifully ironic it is. The very institution that the liberal elite treat like the Vatican of democracy just got exposed by a rogue envelope and a bit of paper cut level incompetence. If this weren't real, it'd be a Rick Mercer sketch. And you just know Pierre Poilievre is somewhere polishing his glasses and smiling like a guy who just found out the carbon tax has been cancelled. Because let's be honest, this is tailor-made for him. It's not just about Terrebone anymore. This is a national showcase of systemic fragility. Told you so moment with maple syrup, thick symbolism. Poilievre, the walking embodiment of fiscal restraint and functional government, doesn't have to say much. The headlines are doing the work, while Carney and his ivory tower liberal pals were too busy treating Elections Canada like a sacred cow. Pierre was out there asking questions like, why can't these people even print an envelope properly? And should we maybe not trust the nation's future to the office supply version of the Titanic? Meanwhile, Carney, who'd rather be hosting a TED Talk on post-capitalist climate finance, is allegedly in full meltdown mode. Rumor has it he almost spilled his fair trade espresso on his autographed Paul Krugman op-ed. The man's so rattled, he might demand the Bank of Canada declare a macro-prudential envelope emergency. He's probably drawing up a chart right now that no one asked for, explaining why GDP declined every time someone forgot to check the postal code. And while Tatiana Ace, bless her political roller coaster, is probably re-Googling how to exit politics gracefully, we're all just watching her pinball between MP, not MP, MP again, and possibly not MP once more. Honestly, her campaign is starting to look like a microwaved, frozen lasagna, half-cooked, mostly messy, and definitely not what was promised on the box. But here's where it gets real. If the court rules in favor of a new election, and let's be honest, that would be the first common-sense ruling since Canada legalized snow tires, we're not just looking at a redo in Terrebone. We're talking about a national electoral precedent that could blow the lid off razor-thin wins and bureaucratic screw-ups coast to coast. Suddenly, that misprinted envelope becomes a legal grenade, and Poilievre gets to walk across this country like he just won Roll Up the Rim for life. And this is exactly the mess he warned us about back when Carney was dreaming about carbon offset panels and Davos brunches. Let's just pause here. An envelope, nearly unseated democracy, not foreign interference, not civil unrest, not hackers, a typo. And who steps in to stop the bleeding? Not Mark, regulate everything Carney, not the liberal machine, but the court and Pierre, who's already probably drafting legislation requiring triple-audited, bilingual, climate-neutral ballot envelopes with GPS trackers and a witness signature from Gretzky. That's leadership, that's competency, that's someone who knows that democracy isn't a sideshow for think tanks. It's sacred, it's fragile, and yes, it should be protected from the tyranny of the office printer. And if this thing does get overturned, if the court lays down the hammer and says, nope, sorry, do it again, but this time with adult supervision, then maybe, just maybe, we're witnessing a turning point, the beginning of a movement that actually demands accountability, not press releases, that treats votes like they matter, not as inconvenient paperwork. And in that moment, Poilievre will be ready, clipboard in hand, sleeves rolled up, probably tossing one last zinger at Carney, who, let's be real, doesn't want democracy. He wants a spreadsheet simulation of it, where real people and their messy, opinionated ballots never interfere with the algorithm. So here's to the Bloc for refusing to just nod and move on. Here's to the court for taking this circus seriously. And here's to Pierre Poilievre, the only grown-up in this political daycare, ready to fix the mess while Carney sulks. Because democracy didn't come with an instruction manual written in banker. Canada deserves better than typos, better than tantrums. We deserve elections run like clockwork, not like Mark Carney's economic forecasts, veering wildly off course depending on the weather and whatever Davos panel he's just flown in from. We deserve accountability, not elitist panic. We deserve leaders who respect every vote, not just the ones that show up in perfectly printed envelopes, hand-delivered by bureaucracy's favorite courier. And if you think this story's over, hold on to your mittens, folks. This is Canada, baby, the land of maple syrup, miscounts, and moral high grounds melting faster than spring snow in April, with the courts now involved and Carney frothing like a badly steamed latte. We've got enough political fuel to roast marshmallows until the next writ drop. So don't go anywhere, because in Canadian politics, sometimes one envelope shakes the entire system, and guess who's already got the postage stamp of justice ready to go, Pierre? That's who. So, hey, subscribe, hit that little bell icon, and get comfy. At this rate, we'll need a live courtroom feed, a Poilievre Told You So playlist, and a Carney meltdown montage just to keep up. Until next time, remember, in Canada, even your mail might decide the fate of democracy.